is this is what we are or who they are. And I'm not speaking from being in the lifestyle. My identity is in Christ. I'm just talking about when I was even in it and watched these parades. I found them to be disgusting.
Yeah, and you're not exaggerating, and what you described is pretty mild compared to what you can see in some cities, some woke cities, with some of these pride displays. It is perversion. So there is one in Boise, Idaho, at least one. Hopefully, there's a lot more than that, where a pride event was canceled, and that was for June 6th. Boise, Idaho. They failed to sell enough tickets. I say thank God. So maybe more people are saying, well, maybe, George, people are understanding that they've really been going after children in these past several decades. And that's what I think is offensive to a lot of people. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. For years, David, as you know, people have been saying in various social media outlets and in television outlets, to leave the children alone. And they didn't listen. And I don't think that the fair-minded gays and lesbians really were vocal enough about this. So they're now reaping what they've sown. People are fed up. I said years ago, you got to leave the kids alone. What you do in the bedroom is your business. Stop pushing this. I knew that once the gay marriage was signed, and this was when I was in the lifestyle, I knew that one day they're going to shove this down the throats of the American people to the point of where there's going to be a backlash. I saw that when I was in the lifestyle because I was around a lot of the militant activists, and I thought, no, this is going to backfire. And so you reap what you sow.
So let's be clear, friends. We are encouraged by some of the direction many in the country or culture are taking. Government schools are a whole nother story. But the Trump administration, some of the executive orders, some of the things that organizations are doing. Let me just read one more sentence or two from this article. By the way, this one is over at harbingersdaily.com. It says the cancellation comes amid a national shift away from pride as the corporate world has started. Remember, friends, this is deeply entrenched. They've started withdrawing some of its support from parades in major cities like New York. According to the Times, the New York Times, 25% of corporate sponsors have either withdrawn or heavily reduced their financial sponsorship for Heritage Pride. Example, they produced the New York Pride event. So there's a lot more. I just read about another one. I don't remember. I think it was Disney, George, that pulled certain pride propaganda, but then they supported a pride parade. I think it might have been also New York. But your thoughts on this, and again, the whole title here, conflicting reports, but remember how many decades they have advanced this agenda. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're not going to stop. Now, the corporations may pull their funding, but these people will not stop until they get everything they want. And David, you know this. There is an agenda behind this agenda. People pulling the strings, and we're talking about a whole Marxist communist reason and everything to do with just destroying the family unit, to promoting degeneracy. It's a full-on slap in the face of God. We know that. We know that this is more of a spiritual warfare. So don't think just because corporations pull their funding that these people are just going to go, oh, we can just go home now. It's over with. It's not going to happen. They're not going to stop. They'll execute a new plan.
Or they'll find other ways. It's still happening, friends, and we've got a lot of resisting and fighting back to do. But let's just, and one other example to help people discern, George. Benny Johnson posted this on his Facebook on June 1st. He said, culture is changing. For the past several years, thousands of major corporations rushed to change their logos on June 1st for Pride Month. This year, it's really hard to find a Fortune 500 corporation engaging in the ritual. Here are some examples. And then he just showed this. Now, this doesn't mean that they have pulled out completely. This simply means that, I think in this case on X, Twitter, X, their profile logo pics that they used to have in rainbow in June a year ago, now they've all removed them. Apple, IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Paramount, Vogue. So that doesn't mean that they're not supporting the agenda anymore, but it means they're backing off a little bit of the public pride, maybe. Does that make sense, George? Did I explain that clearly?
Yes, that makes absolute sense. But again, even when Trump has shut down the whole DEI thing, there are still undercover footage of colleges and other places where they are still pushing it and do it secretively. They're not going to stop. You got to watch these people. I really wish people would just decide, you know what, those who pushed this all these years, I'm still going to continue to boycott them. Because all they're doing is just shifting. I guarantee you, the minute Trump is out of office, if a Democrat gets back into office, these same corporations will go back to supporting this agenda.
Yep. I agree. I agree with you 100%, friends. The ideology runs deep. It really does here, because we're talking about something spiritual. We're talking about an assault on God. We're talking about an assault on the truth. We're talking about rebellion against God's creative order, male, female, marriage, family, civil government, the way he designed things. So let's go over to Wisconsin Family Action. I just got this letter that says, Governor Evers, now a lot of governors are handling this different ways, but Governor Evers raised the pride flag, and sports teams elevated LGBT lifestyles, and the LGBT plus caucus in Wisconsin's capital introduced a radical legislative package. Now, one of these bills went so far as eliminating every reference to mother, father, husband, and wife in state law. So, George, get your comments on that. But first, to acknowledge what our guest last week, Scott Lively, said about when a nation would win a war, they would plant their flag in the territory in the nation of the new land that they conquered, showing that they have authority, they have conquered. The LGBT flag is waving on some state capitals on the flagpoles. This is symbolic, it is spiritual, but it's also very interesting. Your thoughts on that?
David, this is where I'm really just torn. In places where they are blue states, the conservatives have really just got to start speaking out. And I don't want to say making threats, but you got to do what you got to do to let them know we're not putting up with this anymore. They've got to start voting these Democrats out. This has nothing to do with Trump. You know, he'll be out of office soon, but it's the policies. So if you are voting Democrat, but you are incensed by these policies, don't say anything, because you are part of the problem. We've got to destroy liberalism. We've got to destroy the Democratic Party. It is a godless communist party. They are anti-God. They are anti-America, anti the family unit. They are anti-woman. They are anti-sanity. And the only way we can do this is, first of all, humbling ourselves and repenting before God and saying, we're sorry for allowing it to even get to this point. Worried about being called racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic. We should have just fought this from the beginning. But no, we acquiesced, let them walk all over us because we were afraid of being called a name. But look at where we've gotten. We need to ask God to forgive us and to help turn this ship around and start doing some real activism.
Okay, one more brief article before we have to take a brief pause with George Carneal. Minneapolis Elementary School plans gay dance party for kids as young as 5. And yes, this is over at alphanews.org. It's unbelievable, I guess. So this is an elementary school. Friends, just because the president maybe had an executive order saying there's only male and female, there are only 2 genders, or, you know, they're pushing against pride, which is great. I'm thankful for what the administration is doing and how some are getting out there. But as I said, deeply entrenched, especially in the government schools. So this, as young as 5, George, this would have been unheard of about 10, 20 years ago. But we've recognized they are able to, meaning the left, the demoniacs, those perverts that would go after young children, they're able to access, big word, remember that, friends, access. They have access to children at younger and younger ages. This is amazing. A dance party for 5-year-olds? Your thoughts on this before we break?
First of all, it's happening only because you know there are going to be parents who actually support this and will bring their children to these events. It's sickening when I see, especially these white liberal women who drag all of their children to these gay pride events. That's not a place where any child should be. It's a very adult oriented in terms of what you're seeing. I don't understand the mindset of these parents. Do they have a moral compass? Do they even have a conscience? But it's not surprising, David, because a lot of people don't know what's really going on in the public school system. I can't tell you the number of reports of even, I'll give you one quick example. If your son, for instance, states to a teacher, I think I'm a female, they will start putting that boy into counseling and they will never notify the parents that their son thinks he's a girl. And they will spend 9 months grooming that child, and they're playing with that child's mind, and they never ever let the child know. And then one day, or the parents know, and then one day the child will come out and say, "Oh, daddy or mommy, I'm a girl." And you're thinking, where did this come from? And they're blindsided. But that is happening more frequently than parents know. Not to mention just teaching children about anal sex, homosexuality, anal lube, sex toys, butt plugs, masturbation, transgenderism. This is the stuff that's being taught in elementary and junior high schools. Don't think that this is a high school or an adult thing. They are targeting the children very early to mess up their minds.
That's right. Thank you for speaking the truth. It has to be done, friends. We've got to stop being silent in the face of this demonic evil. When we come back,